Hey guys, Brad here with Custom Offsets. Got another episode of Lifts and Levels for you. This one is going to be a SUPERLIFT 8-inch system with the King coilovers and King shocks.
Yeah! All right, wrap it up.
We're done here, boys. So this is going to be the SUPERLIFT 8-inch system. They do have their normal 8-inch system, which is a spacer lift system. It'll reuse the factory struts and then a spacer on top of them. But this is going to be the King system here. So you got these nice 2.5-inch King coilovers. We'll get to those in a second. We're going to run through the rest of the parts. All right, so we'll start with the cross members here. These are going to be the same cross members that they use in all of their 8-inch lift systems. One nice thing about these is obviously that we'll see here is that they do drop the lower control arms about 7.5 inches. So this isn't a 4-inch system that they just max out and run at 8 inches and blow everything apart on the front end. This is a true, I guess you would call it, 8-inch system. So that's a nice something to note about there. So we got our rear cross member and then the front cross member here. One thing that I will mention again that I have done before about SUPERLIFT is they just supply you with the nameplate for the cross member. They don't fix it for you, they just leave that up to you. I think that's kind of weird, and I don't know why they do that. And let's see, besides that, differential skid plate here. This is gonna go under the front differential once it's dropped down to protect it a little bit from any fast moving objects that may try to decimate its existence. That's not, dude, you just ruined my whole vibe. And moving on here, we got the new knuckles here. As you can see, these are a new forged unit designed by SUPERLIFT. This is going to have a lot of the steering geometry in it, and this is actually going to provide some lift as well, depending on where they have the wheel mounting location machined into the knuckle itself. This will increase the front track width about 1 5/8 or so in the front, so the front will get wider than the rear track width, and that's why you'll see that they supply these CV axle spacers, which measure about 1 5/8 to prevent the CV axles from overexpanding. Sway bar drop brackets here, and we'll move on to the next important thing or piece, which would be these differential drop brackets. There's going to be 2 of them, obviously, and these are quite large because this is an 8-inch system, and these drop the diff about 7 inches is what they measure. And I can't really measure this one here because we got a little bit of a diddly-do difference here, so we can't get a measurement on there, but it's about 7 inches on the other one, so I'm going to assume that it's going to drop the other side about 7 inches as well. In the rear of the truck, we got our block lift. These are the SUPERLIFT, gotta move these, SUPERLIFT blocks here, and we'll just measure these up. And these are gonna be about an 8-inch, yep, 8 inches, an 8-inch block for the rear. And we got new U-bolts as well for that here. And these are a fabricated unit, as you can see. They're not gonna be a cast block or anything like that. And then moving on to the fun stuff, this is going to be the King portion, obviously, of the kit. We got the 2.5-inch King shocks for the rear. They're a reservoir shock, a piggyback, if you will, is what they're called, piggyback reservoir shock. These are gonna go for the rear. And then we got the coilovers up front. These are an external reservoir shock, or a remote reservoir, I guess you would say, as opposed to a piggyback. They give you these little mounts here, which I guess are gonna go on top of the strut towers, and the reservoirs will mount in there and make everything nice and pretty looking. And we got bags of hardware over here that we're not really gonna talk about because there's nothing interesting in there, it's just bolts and nuts. We're gonna go ahead and get this installed, and then we'll come back to her and check it out. All right guys, we got the 8-inch SUPERLIFT kit installed on the truck here. The King edition, of course. We're gonna run through the kit and just point out some of the components and how they are once they're installed. All right, so first things first, we got the new forged knuckles here, which are of SUPERLIFT design. Extended sway bar end links here, as well as a sway bar drop. So we got the sway bar drop brackets here combined with the longer end links as well. New lower control arm drop cross members, the fronts and the rears. Of course, we got the new King coilover installed. This particular customer, we installed zone upper control arms here. These are not necessary. You can reuse your factory control arms. but the factory ones were wore out, so he went with the upgraded zone upper control arms. So that's what you see here, that's what these are. One gripe I have about this kit is they make you re-thread the inner tie rod here, which in my opinion is a little hokey. They have you cut it and then re-thread it, which is not an easy task considering that I think an inner tie rod is hardened, so they just give you a tap and say, here, just thread some new threads on here and you're good to go. It's much easier said than done. I don't know why they wouldn't just give you a new shorter tie rod. I'm assuming their reason is going to be because then you could just go buy a stock outer tie rod and then throw it on there, but what if your inner goes bad? Anyway, that was the one gripe about this kit. Moving on, we got CV axle spacers here because the track width is increased. Differential drop brackets, these big brackets here as you can see. We got the skid plate installed for the differential when it comes down, and I think that's about it up front. There's nothing with the drive shaft or anything like that, so we're good on that aspect of it. You have to relocate some of the brake lines and everything like that, which is to be expected. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Moving around to the back, we have the new blocks installed in the truck, the new U-bolts, and then of course the new King shocks for the rear. And then there's some brake line relocation going on in the back as well to give you some slack on the brake lines, and really that's going to be about it. That's the SUPERLIFT 8-inch kit. This is going to be the King edition. Peace.